Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. So today we're going to play Blue-White Artifacts, which is using some cards from the Outlaws set and the big score, which came alongside the Outlaws set. Fomori Vault is a new land, which is look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of artifacts you control. Put one of those cards into your hand and the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. You have to discard a card to use it. So this is... I mean, it's almost like a tutor, right? If you have enough artifacts in play, it's really, really, really strong. I like to play Mirrex in most decks that I play, and this is kind of the first utility land like that in a long time that's made me not play Mirrex. That's how highly I think of it. And then we've got Simulacrum, Synthesizer, and Assimilation Aegis. These are both from the big score. 2 new artifacts. So the Synthesizer is enters the battlefield, scry 2, and then when another artifact with mana value 3 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token with this gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. So when you play this, then once you play a 3 or greater cost artifact, you get a big token. Aegis is when it enters the battlefield, exile 1 target creature until Assimilation Aegis leaves the battlefield. And then it's also got another ability, when it becomes attached to a creature for as long as Assimilation Aegis remains attached to it, that creature becomes a copy of creature card exiled with Assimilation Aegis. We don't actually use the equip that often. Occasionally you will, if, you know, say they play a Deep Cavern Bat, and you exile a Deep Cavern Bat, or like a Shielded, or something that gets a lot of value from being in the, either having lifelink or staying in play. Sometimes you might equip it, but most of the time, the creature that you're exiling with your Aegis will actually be smaller and less impactful than just the huge token that you make from playing it after the Synthesizer anyway, so it's not really worth it to even do the equip. But occasionally you will. And then the rest of the deck is just a bunch of cards that are... all of our cards that are 3 or more are artifacts, so that we can... proc this as often as possible to make a bunch of tokens. And then the cheaper cards are mostly artifacts with the Disruption Protocol as a counter spell. So the Moonsnare prototype gives a little bit of ramp and can also be a removal spell in the late game. Enigma Jewel, you can use, you can tap it to make 2 colorless. You can only spend the mana to activate abilities, but there are a lot of ways to spend that mana in this deck. You can use it for the channel itself on the prototype. You can use it to sacrifice Candy Trail to draw. You can use it to activate your Fabrication Foundry, to craft your Spring-Loaded Saw Blades, to look at the top 4 with your Spider, to equip your Aegis. And you can also use it to actually activate this Fomori Vault that we talked about earlier. You can use it to channel the Otawara. You can use 1 of the 2 mana because it's 1 colorless, a white and a blue. Sadly, we can't animate the anchorage by using only 1 land, but still pretty good. There's still a ton of ways to use the Enigma Jewel. Candy Trail is just a good way to let you play a little bit less lands with a scry, and it can help you dig to your bigger spells. The Candy Trail is even still useful in the late game, because once you've got the Synthesizer in play, like the value that you get from playing an artifact that costs mana value 3 or more is like essentially game winning. So anything that lets you dig for one of these bigger spells faster is huge, and Candy Trail only costs 1, right? So it's not too big of a deal. So we've got 4 Saw Blades, 4 Aegis as our removals, Protocol as our counter spells, Foundry, Prototype, and Jewel are all ramping us. It's a very, very cool deck. It's my favourite deck of this set so far. So let's try it in a couple of games in best of 1, and we'll see how it does. Alright, game 1. Good lands. We got Jewel with Candy Trail to activate it early. Removal spell. Looks good. So first we want to get the Jewel down for sure. Next turn probably... so we can play Trail, and then we can use the Jewel mana to sacrifice it, gain 3, draw a card after we scry. So we can actually play the Trail and sacrifice it next turn while putting the tap land down. Foundry, huh? Okay. Curtains. Well, they can't activate that yet, so let's do this. Saw blades is pretty good against the curtains. Yeah, maybe actually it's not that good, right? Because they are not going to attack with it until they've activated, and once they've activated, we're still going to want to remove it at some point, but I guess we want to start with a synthesizer. And then I might actually bottom this here. As I said in the intro, once you've got the synthesizer in play, like your 3 and above cost artifacts are just obscenely powerful, so at that point I think we still want to we want to dig for those. Even over keeping a removal spell that's like clearly quite good. Even though it's quite good against this curtains or even the bat, it's just so much worse than a more expensive card. Now, we might not find a more expensive card and then we'll regret what we've done, but we'll see how it goes. So we want to activate the candy trail. Let's get the synthesizer down. This gives us another scry so we can dig again for a more expensive card. Alright, not a bad start. On 23 life, not really under too much pressure. The Foundry we can use later, maybe even sack our Enigma Jewel once we've actually... We're using it for mana right now, but once we've got enough lands in play that we don't really need the mana, we could even sacrifice it using the Foundry and bring back something like Candy Trail. I think it would be good for us if they discarded this Foundry because we get to redraw, because again that would dig us one card deeper for a big artifact. Here's a prototype. So we have 6 mana. I think what I'll do is play the Foundry. And we'll probably activate the Vault. Activate the Fomori Vault to dig for a big artifact. So we discard a card and look at the top X cards of the library, where X is the number of artifacts we control, which right now is 3. So we get to look at the top 3 cards, pick any of them. Now, importantly, the amount of cards that you get to dig depends on how many artifacts you have, but you don't have to, you're not looking for an artifact. You can pick any card off of this, which is pretty good. So, like, if you're ahead on board, you can dig for your counter spells. If you're behind, you can dig for your removal spells. If you need a land, etc. Okay, we don't need 3 lands, though. We definitely don't need 3 lands. We've already got a creature land with Anchorage. I guess the Wastes is our worst land. I'll take the beach. So the beach, if we have to play it, the beach is good, but also it's a fine one to discard if we brick again here, which we have. So now if I activate the vault, because we can use the jewel for 2, I'll still have 1, 2, 3. I'll still have 4 mana to cast an artifact, so I'm gonna activate this now. Okay, there we go. We got something. So we can take the Smithy, cast it using the Foundry mana. That will give us a 5/5 creature. Or we can eat the Archfiend with the Aegis. I suppose we'll take the Aegis. I'd like to take the Bat, but I'm a little bit worried about taking the big hit here. If I take the Bat, I don't quite have enough mana to cast this other Aegis this turn. So I would be taking 3 from the Menace plus another 6, going to 6 life, and then even if I remove the Archfiend on my next turn, still a little dicey, right? This way, yes, we get 1 less card, but we are on such a much more healthy life total. So the Saw Blades is 5 damage to a tapped creature, so we can't use it on the Obliterator. I mean, of course we wouldn't want to use it on the Obliterator anyway with the Obliterator's ability, but let's use it on the Bat. That gets us, so that's a 2-cost artifact, so we don't get a token off the Synthesizer, but the Aegis is 3, so we will. We'll get a token off of this one. We'll eat the Obliterator. You can see how fast our guys grow. Now, I could play this prototype for 1 that would grow my creatures by 1/1. Don't think we need to do that. Let's hold it. Sadly, I've got, including the dual mana, I've got 3 mana here. We can craft the spring-loaded Saw Blades into a Blade Wheel Chariot, which becomes a 5/5 creature. Sadly, that costs 4, though. We only have 3 available right now. So we might want to do that next turn. And look at the vault now. If we draw a land, we can trade it in for any card in our top 8. Crazy. This land is crazy. It's already saved the game when we were using it for 3. Now we can do it for 8. Now we can use it to win the game. Okay, Candy Trail. Should probably play that, right? Rather than trading it in for the vault. Second vault we don't need. Second jewel we don't need. A second synthesizer, okay, cool. Play that. So the first one makes a token off the second one here, and the second one gets to scry 2. Don't need a second Foundry. Don't need a prototype. Pack for 20. Yeah. So you can see with the activated ability of the Aegis, like, as I said in the intro, like, I could turn one of my creatures into an Archfiend of the Dross, which they're on 6, so that will actually be relevant next turn, but you can see how generally, even if you exile a big creature, like a Sheoldred or a Phyrexian Obliterator or something, our creatures are simply just even bigger than that, so most of the time we're actually not even going to do that, because it would make our creatures smaller. Now, maybe a bad time to talk about that, because in this specific example, the Archfiend is actually quite good because they run exactly 6, but hopefully you see the point. Okay. Otawara. Bounce your bat. Make an Archfiend. Alright, good games. Let's see the next one. Alright, game 2. We have a duel again. Got a prototype to help ramp us as well into a spider and a smithy. Try this hand. So we don't have anything to use the dual mana on turn 2 yet, so maybe prototype first. No, still duel first. Spider's very nice against aggressive decks, and because it's 2 artifacts in 1 card, you get the spider and the Power Stone token. It can ramp up our big creatures to be very large very quickly. Let's put our prototype down. We do have the spring-loaded Saw Blades available to deal 5 to this Squirrel with the attack. Also, Spider is colorless, so if they don't attack with the Skrelv, if they're planning to use the Skrelv to let their other creatures get through, the Spider will actually be able to, or they won't be able to do that, essentially, is what I'm saying. So we should be able to get some kind of block off with a Spider. Looks like they're playing some kind of Naya, like, prowess deck, or like pump your creature deck. So any block that we can make is good. So Prototype can tap the Jewel for mana, we've got the Power Stone for mana, and then we've got our double white, so we can play Smithy next turn. If our Spider is still alive, that'll be 4, 5 from the Smithy itself, and 6 from the creature it creates, so we would get to make a 6/6 next turn. If we draw a land, we can even play the Foundry first. Would be a 7/7 in that case. I think because I don't have the land and I really need to get this Smithy down, maybe we have to not block this turn. It's a little bit awkward, but in the long run, I think it will pay off to not block this turn. Now, they might just pump their Scamp and sacrifice it anyway, but if that happens, so be it. Even if that happens, like, we can still draw a land and get a Smithy down, or maybe take a bit of a slower turn. We do sacrifice it. Okay. It could be worse, right? Like, that's a 2 for 1 and we just took 4 damage. It's not the end of the world. There's an Aegis, that's quite good. So if we play the Foundry first, Prototype mana plus this, Foundry. And then we can Aegis the Skrelv. Fine. Foundry just to ramp us a little more. I'd love to be able to hold up the Saw Blades in a situation like this instead of using the Aegis, but we can't really hold up the Saw Blades until we've got rid of this pesky Skrelv first. We can get rid of the Skrelv and then, well, not much to do now, just ask the opponent kindly not to kill us. This Picnic Ruiner can, it can deal damage, we'll say that. But we're glad now that they used the Giant Growth on a different creature, right? Okay. Well, we're not dead, but it's not too fun either. Okay, how much mana do we actually have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. That's a little sad, huh? So we can kill the Picnic Ruiner with the Saw Blades. I mean, I say we can do that. I feel like we must do that. So let's play the Synthesizer. Don't need a second Smithy. A Spider looks great though. Alright. A lot of artifacts in play, and they don't really... I don't think they have any creatures with flying other than the Slick Shot, so if we can... Now, the Spider that we're top decking can block a Slick Shot, but... Ideally, we would like to play the Smithy first if possible. I feel like if they had a slick shot, they would either have cast it that turn, right, or at least plotted it, right? We're gonna have to cast a Smithy at some point to win, so I think it's now and pray. Let's see what happens. We're gonna get to make 2 huge tokens here. One from the Smithy itself, one from our Synthesizer. And all of a sudden, we present lethal. Let's see what happens. 4 mana 2020. Pretty good, huh? I don't think that deck cannot kill us past these blockers unless they have like a trample effect and a removal spell, right? So that, which is quite unlikely. The most likely way for us to die would be to a slick shot here. And again, I'm certain that they would have either plotted it or just simply cast it last turn if they had one. So, might be a bit crazy to say so, but I think we're doing okay. I guess they may have a fling type effect, huh? I'm a little scared by what they just did there. Now the question is, do you block with one or do you block with both? If you block with both, if they have like another like +5/+5 somehow, well, that would be with 2 different cards most likely. It's a disaster, but you don't want to die to sneaky trample. Definitely don't want to die to trample. I think we have to block with both. If we get blown out with this block, it leads to 2 creatures dying. If we get blown out by blocking with 1, it leads to us dying, so it's an easy choice. See what happens. It's a scary deck to play against, huh? Their one. You never know just how much damage they have. I think our deck's quite scary for them too, right? I don't think they're going to be playing against 2 10/10s in many of their games. Okay. That's okay. That's okay, we trade a protection spell. Right, so here we want to flip this Smithy without tapping the Smithy itself. And also we want to tap the least amount of artifacts that produce mana as possible. So I guess we'll leave up the Foundry and the Power Stone. Of course, we're going to leave our creature untapped here. So we flip this land, and now whenever we cast an artifact using the mana from this land, we'll get to make another one of these massive artifact creatures. So let's go Foundry, which will make a creature using our Barracks of the Thousand. Then we'll go Spider, which will make a creature using our Synthesizer. And I mean, I think we're ready to attack for 14, right? We've got a reach blocker for any slick shots. I don't see them getting past 2 14/14s. Two giant growths used. They haven't used any monstrous rages yet. Monstrous Rage is the main one why we just block with everything every time, because then a removal spell really... A removal spell plus trample, that would be how we lose. Okay. Got him. Got another good win. You can see our deck. The deck is really cool. Like we just slam the door shut so fast with these huge creatures. All right, cool win. Let's go again. All right, next game looks like a great hand again. We have the Jewel with a Candy Trail. We have a removal spell. We have a counter spell. Start with the Jewel again. Another blue-white deck, huh? Okay. Get our trail done. We don't need a third removal spell against a blue-white deck, I don't think. Oh, it's a pirates deck, or maybe it's another artifacts deck. Okay. Oh, it is. Wow. I've never played against someone playing these cards. Okay, cool. And theirs is a little different to ours as well. Alright, so we know how good the Synthesizer is. So it would be a good idea to counter their Synthesizer, but if they don't cast it, we're in a bit of it's a bit awkward, right? So I think we just have to play ours and let them cast theirs. I feel like we do want our counters here for this matchup, so let's top a counter. I know I said in an earlier game that once you've got the Synthesizer in play, like, you're going to want to bottom basically everything that's not a 3 or above artifact, just because of the value that you get from casting these spells. It just overpowers anything else in your deck, but maybe in this case, like, a counter spell is also, like, very powerful, right? So let's see. Let's see. So I think this is okay. We'll hold our Aegis for now. Right, and here we can hold up our counter spell and Saw Blades, which can kill this crewmate. Damn, they got the vault. They got the vault and a second synth. Okay, we're definitely countering the second Synthesizer. So we want to tap an untapped artifact. So this lets us counter for 2 mana. Just tap this, that's okay, and now we've still got the Saw Blades available. Sadly, the Saw Blades is only mana value 2, so we don't get a token here, but we do get to remove their creature. Could be worse. A second Jewel is not what we want. So I think here we can hold up this counter spell with 2, and then we have 1, 2, and 4 with our Jewel. So let's craft our Saw Blades here, make a 5/5 creature. And we'll eat the Candy Trail. So this is a vehicle, but it doesn't actually need a creature to crew like most vehicles. Tap 2 other untapped artifacts you control. So we can just tap our artifacts down here, right? Like our Synthesizer, maybe our Aegis. And that would animate this chariot, turn it into a creature. Very nice card. 2 mana removal that turned into a 5/5. A third Synthesizer. Wow. Okay. I'm really glad we drew our counters. Damn, 3. They've got 3 and the vault. Well, what are you gonna do? We're out of counters. We have nothing to remove with the Aegis, so I guess we are attacking with our chariot and our anchorage. Okay, it's still an attack for 7, right? It could be worse. Let's pump up the... Okay, normally I would pump up the land, but I guess here we pump up the chariot, right? In case they have their own Saw Blades. getting this to 6 toughness could be useful. Alright, great, good job. Terrible plays. Oh no. Uh-oh. Mm-hmm. That's a combo. I've tried that combo. I know it looks OP, what they've just done. I promise you, it does not happen like that too often. The opponent has made it look better than it is. Sadly, we are just the guinea pig here. It's too inconsistent, like their deck for my liking anyway. But on the other hand, we're dead, so okay, not actually dead, but kinda dead. So if we kill this and this, this will become an 8/8, so it will actually die. So yeah, we're only taking 10 damage. It's fine, right? Yeah, that seems fine. What a draw from them, man. 3 Simulacrum and a Skitter Beam. Alright, let's see what Scry 2 and a draw can get us. An Aegis? Okay. That looks great. We can remove the Seraph with that. Then we would be drawn into the Smithy afterwards, which I think we're going to have to do. If they play another flyer or something, like, you know, so be it. We have to play to win somehow, right? We got to win at some point. So let's draw. Play our Aegis. Eat the Seraph. Oh, and now the Seraph. I should equip the Seraph. Turn the Spider into a Seraph. Go to combat. Give me lifelink. Huge! Thank you, opponent, for your creatures. We also want to attack with you, I guess, because it's lethal. Well, it's lethal if they don't have anything, but they might. Could have went for flying on this construct, I guess, but they would still have a block on the chariot, and if they have a saw blades, that would be a disaster, right? From my experience, we're so far ahead that we're most likely going to win anyway if they don't have the saw blades there. Okay, maybe not. Oh no, I guess that's okay, right? Wait. They did the wrong mode. They did the wrong one. Oh my god, I've completely lost my train of thought. What was I going to say there? Yeah, I was saying I could have done flying, but if they have a saw blades, we get completely blown out. And I would expect the saw blades to be 4 of, even in the deck with red. From my experience of playing this deck, it's like one of your best cards. So I don't think we have to take the risk. Yeah, I think if they did the correct mode there with the Brotherhood's End, I mean, everything would die, right? But then we've got the Smithy. We know we're top deck in the Smithy, so got a creature land. I think we would still win. It would have been annoying, though. There's no denying that. So we can just block and fly. What a weird game, man. It's hard to evaluate actually what would have happened if they used the right mode on the Brotherhood's end. I mean, I think we would have won. Because basically everything would be dead, right? It would be and then they would play this Mightstone afterwards. So it would be Mightstone and Vault versus Anchorage and Smithy. And then we're top decking, right? Okay, that was really weird. Let's just forget about that game and go next. Alright, final game on the draw this time. We have Synthesizer, no 3-cost artifacts in hand to make a token after that, but we do have Candy Trail to maybe find some. Got a decent removal spell, a decent ramp spell on the draw. Looks like a keep. Right, let's see if they can. So we want to look for a 3-cost card here. Counter spell. I mean, it is quite nice, right? Because we can hold up Saw Blades and counter. I guess we'll draw that. We'll draw that and we'll just wait one extra turn for our Synthesizer, I suppose. So here we're just got so many options, right? We can crack the trail, we can use the Saw Blades, we can use the counter spell. So let's counter this creature, they'll probably attack, and then we can just untap and use our Saw Blades. Definitely want to kill this Beast Caller if we can, while there's no other creature in play. We can even squeeze in our Foundry, do a little ramping. Next turn we've got Synthesizer to dig again for a big card here. Plus another counter spell, it's not too bad. Wow, all the counters. Alright, big card. Saw Blades is useful, but they've only got a 1/1 adaptive. We're going to counter their next 2 creatures. So it's going to be a 1/1 for a while. I think it's a bottom. With 2 counters and this many artifacts, really all we need to do is draw 1 big artifact, right? Make 1 big creature, and then opponent's going to struggle to overcome that. Pass. Okay, let's draw. There's a second Synthesizer. Okay, great. So we can play this. This will make 1 token. And threatening to make 2 tokens with our next artifact. Spider, great. Top it. Keep holding up your counters. So this spider is going to make 2 artifacts, remember? So we're going to have 3 7/7 constructs. And they're just dead, right? 3 7/7s with 2 counter spells. It's over. I hope you enjoyed the deck. Let's we'll take one more look at the deck and I'll go over it again. Okay, yeah, this is the deck. I've been playing it in best of 3. This is the first time I've tried it in best of 1. In best of 3, I lost to a couple of control decks, but we won literally every match against decks that are not hard control, and there are some options to be able to beat the control decks more consistently that we've been looking into. Hopefully we can get there in the end, but yeah, the deck is crazy. Like when it for the first couple of turns, it looks like it's not doing like crazy strong things, but you can see how in the mid game we just like out in nowhere we just explode onto the board. The Smithy, we saw that flipping in 1 game, so that's a really good way to win a very, very long game. Like you can start getting great value out of these even cheaper artifacts in the late game when they're also making a big token. We saw the power of the Vault even in the early game when we only had 3 artifacts available. It saved us in one of our games Spider, we never saw a spider activation, but you will be paying the 7 sometimes to dig in some games. 7 is a lot of mana, yes, but when you consider that you're playing cards like the Duel that are ramping 2, you've got this 1 mana ramp spell with the prototype, the spider itself is doing a little bit of ramping, you've got the Foundry, like, you can have access to 7 mana or activated abilities pretty quickly. It's not as if you're having to play 7 lands to do that. We got plenty of use out of both of the removal spells, plenty of use out of the counter spells. The Foundry is another great card in this deck because it's early game ramp and it's also late game value with the exile and return ability, which we didn't see, but it's pretty good to do that in the late game to return candy trails to get some redraws. Sometimes you can even return spiders or removal spells. And because the Synthesizer is when an artifact with mana value 3 or greater enters the battlefield, rather than like when you cast one, if you bring back a big artifact with the Foundry, you will get another token that way. Alright, so hope you like the deck. It's definitely my favourite deck from this set so far. I've enjoyed every match I've played with it. If it looks cool to you, give it a shot. Goodbye.